Hello, Jim Stroud here for Tribe TV. I think when 2020 is over, America and the world will breathe a collective sigh of relief because hopefully that will mark the end of this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, just as it could mark the beginning of a second wave. Have you heard about that? There's been some speculation of a second wave of COVID-19, coronavirus the sequel. Check out this quote from CNN, if you would. A second round of COVID-19 cases is inevitable come fall, the nation's top infectious disease doctor said, as people increasingly try to resume regular life and more states ease or lift their stay-at-home orders. I'm almost certain it will come back because the virus is so transmissible and it's globally spread, said Dr. Anthony Fauci during an Economic Club of Washington webinar earlier this week. And if a second wave of COVID-19 is not enough to concern you, here's one more thing to keep you awake at night, dear employer. Imagine this. One of your workers comes to work and, God forbid, they get infected with the COVID-19 virus, and as a result of that, they die. What happens then? Well, more than likely, their family members will gather together and sue you for wrongful death. Think it can't happen to you? Well, it happened to Walmart. It happened to Tyson Foods. It happened to Safeway. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Check out this headline from the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, I think it says it all. Here's a quote. Walmart, Safeway, Tyson Foods, and some healthcare facilities have been sued for gross negligence or wrongful death since the coronavirus pandemic began unfolding in March. Employees' loved ones contend the companies failed to protect workers from the deadly virus and should compensate their family members as a result. Workers who survived the virus also are suing to have medical bills, future earnings, and other damages paid out. In responding to the lawsuits, employers have said they took steps to combat the virus, including screening workers for signs of illness, requiring they wear masks, sanitizing workspaces, and limiting the number of customers inside stores. Some point out that it is impossible to know where or how the workers contracted COVID-19, particularly as it spreads more widely across the country. This trend of family members suing the employer of a deceased loved one is something that's not going to stop anytime soon, certainly not based on some recent news reports I've seen. Let me share some of them with you.
Was an excellent father and an excellent partner.
She told me about Hugo Dominguez, her fiance, and the father of her 2 kids.
He was very hardworking.
He used to work here before he died of COVID-19. On April 15th, Dominguez started feeling symptoms. 4 days later, they worsened, so he left his job the 19th. He tested on the 20th. Results came back positive the 22nd. And on April 25th, 10 days after the symptoms started, he died at 36 years old.
The first times I told him, don't go to work, don't stay at home.
But as Blanca grieves, she's upset. She said Quality Sausage didn't take any steps that may have prevented her fiance's death. It's why she filed this wrongful death lawsuit.
A lot of people are afraid. They're really afraid. They're afraid of losing their income. They're afraid of losing their jobs. And they're afraid of making sure that their family are protected from getting COVID.
Maria Bourne handles employment law at a San Francisco firm that is getting more calls from frontline workers, including nurses and grocery store workers. Most of them say they were fired or retaliated against for saying they felt unsafe at work. The family of a Walmart worker, Wando Evans, who died of complications from COVID-19 in the Chicago area, is now suing the retailer. accusing managers of ignoring his symptoms and failing to let colleagues know he may have contracted the coronavirus.
And just in case you think wrongful death is the only legal issue you should be worried about, it's not. Wrongful termination connected to the coronavirus is also a thing.
I love my job.
Drasana Rios was an account executive for an out-of-state insurance company. Since mid-March, she was told to work from home due to COVID-19 and telecommute via conference calls. Like many parents, she was unable to find childcare for her 4- and 1-year-old kids. Rios claims she was caring for her children and completing all her tasks, never getting any complaints from her clients about her children being heard in the background of her conference calls. The only complaint, she says, came from her direct superior. She says she tried to arrange calls to be during her children's nap times, but claims her boss continued to ignore and demean her for 3 months.
And I said, do you want me to lock my kids in the room, my 1-year-old in the room? Do you want me to do that? And he responded and said, figure it out.
She says she went to HR multiple times to ask for advice on how to deal with the harassment. But 1 week later, she says she was suddenly terminated due to financial strains caused by COVID. She believes the company is covering up her discrimination claims and has now filed a gender discrimination and wrongful termination suit.
You know, of all of these coronavirus, COVID-19 related lawsuits that are out there and potentially out there, I think we're witnessing the birth of a whole new legal industry. That's why I think in the very near future, we're going to see more commercials like this.
Times are challenging, but you still have rights. If your employment has been terminated or you've been laid off because of COVID-19, you can do something about it. Now's the time to ensure you can support your family. If your job has been affected, visit employmentlawyer.ca.
Is your company prepared to take on potential lawsuits from multiple employees? And if so, do you know what your rights are? For that matter, do workers know what their rights are? If your answer is, I don't know, then you're in luck, because I found some resources that would be of interest to you. I'll leave a link in the video description, but here's one of them right here. That's pretty cool. It's a lot to think about, I know, but there is a good chance, and I stress the word chance, that the worst is already over. Check out this chart I found from Our World in Data. Okay, on this chart here, we see the number of confirmed cases, and they are trending down. And here, even better news, the number of reported deaths is way low in comparison. So, does this mean happy days are here again? Well, time will tell. And now, shoutouts. Wow, wow, wow. The episode on cancel culture really resonated with you. Thank you so much for the positive vibes and the comments made publicly and privately. Much appreciated. Especially now with so much going on, pandemics, civil unrest, the economy. Whew, so much. What next? I think I need some air. I'm gonna step outside here for a second. Please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode. Whew. With so much going on, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Ooh.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.